I'm from a little town just down the road from Pontotoc, Oklahoma. I come from a family of 10. I had 6 sisters and 4 brothers. Quilting seemed to be our passion at our home. With a family of 10, there's a lot of people there, and it wasn't really a hobby. They were just to keep us warm. I'm Peggy Immohotichey. I'm a Chickasaw quilter. My grandmother would always teach us different things about the quilts and, like the material that was used. We would use flour sacks, just old material, old shirts or pants or things like that that you would just no longer use or outgrown, and then we would cut them and make piece patterns. We would always hand sew the quilts. We'd sit around this frame that's behind me, and all the women would gather up there and teach us younger girls how to sew and make quilts. Nobody used a machine, nobody used a computer, a long arm, not even a rotary cutter. They would just use plain old scissors or just tear the strips, They just did everything old school, as we would say. It was the greatest thing because you got to learn those things, It's such an art that's being lost right now. There's very few people who are quilters, and even in Oklahoma, in our tribe, there's very few people who actually still quilt. Where I get my inspiration, I just get it from everywhere. I get it from flowers, wildflowers. You get something in your head and you say you want to make something. For instance, I have a Indian blanket, a flower that grows here in Oklahoma. And I thought, well, I want to make a quilt like that, a couple of wall hangings. I have another one with the Indian paintbrush that I've made a quilt of. So, you get things in your head and you think, okay, well, I want to do that. Let me just make sure I got all my colors. When you get started with a quilt, first of all, you have to make a pattern. It's trial and error as you start in with the pattern. So you get the pattern in your head and then you draw it out and then you think, oh, this would be pretty. Then you start with the colors. You can use the natural colors like with the wildflowers or, like the rainbow, or you just think up your own colors. This quilt that's in front of me right here actually looks like this, but the pattern looks like this. This is what it goes from a pattern to the actual quilt that you see in front of you. There can be over 400 diamonds, separate diamonds in each quilt as I'm quilting these. Hand sewing takes a long time. Usually takes about 6 months to do a hand sewn quilt that you do just by hand. Right now, I use a long arm machine to sew my quilts. I really like that because, it's technology that you can use. You have to have patience to do it, but, if you learn the basics, anyone can learn how to quilt. I think it's so important for us as the elders of our tribe to pass down this knowledge that we have. I teach my granddaughter how to do these things. What do we say? When we make mistakes, we fix them.
Yeah.
She's an artist herself. She's young. She's 11 years old. When it's connected to you and your family, you can be just real proud to say, hey, that's my grandmother's quilt, and I sewed this quilt top. I can't believe it, Can't believe it turned out so pretty. I try to tell everyone, that as they are quilting, to be a part of that quilt, be a part of making that quilt and designing that quilt. I never thought of it as a legacy, but, it is something that I love to pass down to others and to my own children and grandchildren and teach others how to quilt. I'm just so proud when I see that culture being passed on to the younger generation. And that's what's going to keep us alive.